Is Microsoft blocking customization apps for the upcoming 24H2 update for Windows 11? It turns out it might be a little more complicated than that. Stay tuned. Windows 11 24H2 is in the release preview channel at the moment. This means that the release is right around the corner. Essentially, all we're doing at this point is just kind of fine-tuning the update before it will be released to the general public. Now, there's a lot of really cool features that are coming in 24H2, and I'm personally looking forward to a few of them. But there's also kind of a lot of controversies surrounding it as well that aren't so good. And one of those controversies is Microsoft blocking customization apps from installing in 24H2. Luckily, that's not happening anymore, but it's not all perfect. That's what we're going to talk about today. But first, I got to pay some bills, so check out today's sponsor. Is your copy of Windows 10 unactivated? Well, it doesn't have to be, because with today's sponsor, VIP SCD Key, you can get a valid Windows 10 license for under $20. Stop dealing with that stupid watermark on the desktop, the valid license for Windows 10. Also, with an activated copy of Windows 10, you can upgrade to Windows 11 for free. Just go to the link in the description below and pick up a valid Windows 10 license key. During checkout, use the code CYBERCPU for a 25% discount. Once you have your key, go to your activation settings in Windows 10 and click on the link that says Change Product Key. Enter the product key you just purchased and hit Activate. Now you don't have to deal with that stupid watermark that come with running an unactivated copy of Windows 10. Now, on with the video. So yeah, now that 24H2 is in release preview, Microsoft has taken away the block that would stop you from installing Windows customization software. That's great, right? Well, kind of. They've now turned to some even more malicious tactics, in my opinion, but we'll get to those a little bit later. Ultimately, though, I think that I've been saying the entire time has been true. Microsoft was blocking these customization apps because they didn't want them interfering with the beta for 24H2. I mean, I kind of get why they did it. They were trying to work the bugs out of their own build update. They didn't want to have to deal with a third-party customization software that they didn't approve of in the first place. Well, it's a good thing we don't care what they approve of. But I still understand why they did it. However, now that 24H2 is in release preview, we can install our customization apps without any problems. Well, kind of. You see, the primary problem that a lot of these customization apps have is their ability to go back to some of the UI elements of Windows 10. The reason why they were able to do this is because Microsoft left a lot of that old code in Windows 11. But unfortunately, that code has been removed in 24H2. That's right. The Windows 10 taskbar is officially dead and no longer exists within the codebase of Windows 11. So applications that try to re-enable that taskbar aren't going to work because the taskbar doesn't exist anymore. And this is the primary reason why Microsoft blocked these apps in the first place. They were simply not compatible with the latest version of Windows 11. But a lot of these apps have implemented their own versions of the Windows 10 taskbar to get around this. So these applications should still work in 24H2. So today, we're going to install a few of the most popular customization apps for Windows 11 and see how they're working in the latest release preview. Now, the first app that we're going to look at today is my favorite. And since it's my channel, I get to do my favorite first. If you've been watching this channel for any time, then you know that that app is Explorer Patcher. This is a free and open source app available on GitHub that enables a lot of UI elements that from Windows 10 into Windows 11. Now, Explorer Patcher, I believe, was affected the most by 24H2 because the primary purpose of the program was to enable hidden features that still existed within Windows 11. Features that, unfortunately, simply don't exist anymore. Luckily, though, the developer of Explorer Patcher has implemented their own Windows 10 taskbar by essentially restoring the code from Windows 11 22H2 in what they're calling the re-implemented taskbar. Now, I think this really pissed Microsoft off, and the hoops you have to jump through to install it kind of prove that, because Microsoft has now labeled Explorer Patcher as a virus in Windows Defender. Now, before we jump on the computer, and I'll show you how to install it anyway, I just have to talk about this for a minute. Now, I've recommended for a long time to use Windows Defender, but I think actions like this done by Microsoft kind of harms the trust in Windows Defender. Because you see, Microsoft is not simply using Windows Defender to keep your computer secure from malicious software. They're also using it to enforce their own will on your computer. And in this case, they're actually inflicting revenge against a developer that's doing something that they don't like. That's simply not what antiviruses are for. I mean, Microsoft cannot like customization software all they want, and they don't even have to support it. But these are our computers, and if we want to install a piece of software, then that's none of their business. I think using Windows Defender as a weapon by Microsoft is honestly an inappropriate use of an antivirus and might even violate antitrust laws. But with that rant out of the way, let's jump on the computer and I'll show you how to install it anyway. Okay, so here we are in the release preview of Windows 11 24H2. If I go over to System here, scroll down to About, you can see that we are running 24H2. And this is OS build 26100.1742, which is the latest at the time of filming this video. So we're gonna go ahead and close this. And the first one, as you can see, we're clearly running Windows 11. But the first one we're gonna play with, like I said, is gonna be Explorer Patcher. So we're gonna go ahead and go to that website now. And I'll leave a link to all of these down in the description below. Now, to install Explorer Patcher, all you have to do is come over here and click the latest button and then scroll down. And as you can see, there's tons and tons of notes for this build of Explorer Patcher. So there's lots of different updates on this one. And a lot of this is what's actually creating the 24H2 compatibility in this version. But if you go down here, you can see this warning where it's actually talking about Microsoft flagging it as malware. And it'll kind of go down, it'll give you an idea of what you need to do in order to get around that to install it anyway. Now, the first thing that you need to do is you have to actually open Windows Defender and then click on Virus and Threat Protection, go down to the Virus and Threat Protection settings, click Manage Settings, and turn off Real-Time Protection. And by doing that, you can actually download the file, because otherwise it won't let you download the file itself. So once you have that turned off, you go ahead and scroll down and click on epsetup.exe. And then go ahead and download Explorer Patcher. And it'll take a second to download, and once it does, it'll be sitting inside of your download directory. And with our browser window still open, there's a couple more things that we still need to do. So we're gonna go ahead and minimize our downloads folder here, and we need to add these exclusions right here. Otherwise, Windows Defender is just going to label the app as a virus after it's installed. So we're gonna go ahead, go back to Windows Defender, and at this point we can turn real-time protection back on. We're gonna go ahead and go to our Virus and Threat Protection, and then we're gonna come down to our manage settings again, and then scroll all the way down, and you can see right here where the exclusions are, where you can add or remove exclusions. And in here, obviously there's nothing added yet. You can add all of these folders individually if you want. However, there's a better way to do it. Essentially, if you look at this area right here, the shaded area, if you go ahead and highlight this entire thing right here, and then copy, and then we're gonna go ahead and minimize this, and we're going to open up our Windows PowerShell and make sure to click Run as Administrator. And then once PowerShell opens, all we have to do is paste all this stuff in, hit Enter, and it will add all the exclusions for us. So it's just an easier way to do it than doing them one by one. But once those are added, we can go ahead and close Windows Defender, and we can go into here and we can run the Explorer Patcher install. Of course, it's still gonna flag that it's a malicious file, so you're gonna have to hit More Info and click Run anyway. And at that point, it'll go ahead and install. Now it's gonna take a second to install and the screen will go black while it does, but once it comes back, it should look exactly the same as it did before, as you can see. But for everybody that's familiar with Explorer Patcher, you know this is kind of the way it's supposed to work. But if you right click on the task menu, as you can know, you've got a lot of different things here now. So we want to go ahead and click on Properties. And from Properties, that'll open our Explorer Patcher properties. Now, I'm not going to do a whole bunch in here. I'm just going to do a few things. Like first off, we're going to go ahead and we're going to re-enable the Windows 10 taskbar. Now, as you can see, there's two choices here. There's Windows 10 or there's Windows 10 Explorer Patcher. Now, the Explorer Patcher one is the re-implemented taskbar. And that's the one that you have to use if you're using 24H2. Now, if you're using 23H2, then you have to use this one right here, if that makes any sense. So either way, for whichever version of Windows you have to use the correct taskbar in this case. So we're gonna go to this one, and we're gonna go ahead and hit Restart File Explorer. And then once we do, as you can see, now we have our Windows 10 taskbar back. And if we click the Start button, well, it opens in the middle, but that's pretty much the functionality of Explorer Patcher. So if you wanted to fix that, you have to go over to the Start menu section, and here you can actually turn on the Windows 10 Start menu, and you can change the position to the edge of screen. And at this point, you just hit Restart File Explorer again, and once it comes back, it'll come back with the new Start menu. Now, as you can see, now that we've refreshed this, we're missing some icons down here. And honestly, I think this is a bug in 24H2. I don't think this is related to Explorer Patcher, because honestly, it's happened in a few of the customization apps that I used. And if you usually wait for a minute, eventually it'll come back, or you can try restarting File Explorer again in order to get it to come back. But what I've been doing is if you click the Start menu, everything still works. It just doesn't seem to populate the rest of the taskbar, which it just did just as I was talking. However, I think this is a bug in Windows 11 itself, and hopefully this will be fixed before the 24H2 update is released. So now, as you can see, Explorer Patcher is definitely working. We're not going to go too much more into it at this point, so we need to move on to the next one. So to do that, the next thing we need to do is actually uninstall Explorer Patcher. And to do that, we need to go ahead and just open up Control Panel. So I'm going to go into Control Panel here. We're going to click Uninstall a Program, and we're going to go ahead and uninstall Explorer Patcher here. And it'll take a minute for Explorer Patcher to get uninstalled. Your screen will go black again. But once it comes back, you should have your Windows 11 taskbar back. Maybe. Because actually, no, in this case, maybe not. So as you can see, I have no Windows 11 taskbar. But if you wait for a minute, it will eventually come back. And like I said, this is related to the same bug that we just talked about. And I think this is just in 24H2. I don't think this has anything to do with Explorer Patcher at all. Obviously, since Explorer Patcher is currently uninstalled. But if we wait long enough, eventually the taskbar will come back. But it is a little annoying. And there we go, it did come back. And it actually left it as being justified on the left because, you know, when we uninstalled Explorer Patcher, it was like that. If you wanted to fix that, all you'd have to do is go into your taskbar settings, go into taskbar behaviors, and then change it from left to center, and it'll go back to center like the Windows 11 typically is. Now, Explorer Patcher is definitely the most complicated to install and use of the rest of the programs that we're going to be looking at in this video. It's also kind of buggy right now. There's lots of new code in this program, and unfortunately, Explorer Patcher has always been known for being just a little bit buggy. But even with that said, it's still my favorite of everything on this list that we're going to be looking at today. Also, I just wanted to add that according to the developer, the re-implementation of the Windows 10 taskbar in Explorer Patcher was an 8-month ordeal. That's a lot of time to spend on a free app. So if you can find it within yourself and you like this program, I highly recommend giving the developer a couple bucks. He's definitely deserved it. However, one of the benefits of some of the other programs that we're going to look at is they're a little bit more polished. However, they're also not free, like Explorer Patcher is. So sometimes that polish might cost you a little bit of money. So with that said, the next one we're looking at today is Start All Back. Let's jump on the system and I'll show you how it runs. Okay, just like in Explorer Patcher, we're going to go ahead and jump onto our browser here, and we're going to click on Start All Back. Now, once you get to the website, you just click this button right here that says Download, and this should download the latest version of Start All Back for you. And then once it downloads, we're going to go ahead and jump into our download folder here, and we're going to run the executable. Luckily for this one right here, there's nothing else you have to do except for just that. So I'm going to go ahead and click Install for Everyone, and it's going to go ahead and close my window real quick and fire back up. And then as you can see, we are in Start All Back. Now, once you install this program, it works with full functionality. However, it has a trial of 100 days. Now, as you can see, my trial, I've only got 95 days left, and it's because I set it up earlier when I was setting up for this video. But if you want to actually purchase a license for this after your 100 days is up, the license is $5. Now, if we go through here, I'm going to go back to the welcome page, and there's a bunch of different things that you can do. However, this program is considerably more limited than Explorer Patcher is. So essentially, this one pretty much just changes your start menu. It doesn't really modify your taskbar, so it shouldn't be affected by 24H2 either way. But you can go through and you can change to different kinds of Windows 7 kind of inspired taskbars if you want. And then by clicking through there, it'll change them with essentially just different skins that will make the Windows 7-ish taskbar look different. You can also go into the start menu. There's lots of different settings that you can change from within the start menu in here. And you can also change settings within the taskbar itself. Like you can change the icon itself. So your start button itself can look more Windows 7-ish. So as you can see, Start All Back also works just fine in 24H2. However, Start All Back has about the least amount of functionality of any of the customization apps that we're looking at today. But if you really like the Windows 7 start menu, then this might be the perfect app for you. It's a good start menu replacement and does have some useful tweaks in it, but it lacks some of the options that some of the other start menus have, and it kind of feels a little limiting. But it does work with 24H2, and you can try it for free for 100 days. So let's jump into our next program we're looking at today, which is Start 11. Now, just like before, we're going to go ahead and open up Chrome here. We're going to click on Start 11. And Start 11, this is a program made by StarDock. They've been a pretty popular program throughout the industry that I can remember all the way back in the Windows 98 and Windows 10 days. So they've been around for quite a while. So to download this, the first thing you do is just click on this link where it says Try Free. And then from here, your download should start automatically. But if it doesn't, you can always click this link to start it. And then from what I've noticed too, is it's not a very big program. It's about 50 megabytes, but it takes an awful long time to download. When you look at all the different programs that we've downloaded up to this point, they were pretty quick. But this one here also is a fairly big program. As you can see, Start All Back was 2 megs. Explorer Patcher was 10 megs, and this one here is about 50. So it is a bigger program. However, it takes an exceptionally long time to download, especially being that I have a pretty quick internet connection. But as you can see, we got about 15, 20 seconds to go. And then once it's finished, we'll go ahead and play around with it. Okay, so it's finally done. We can go ahead and click here to open up our downloads folder. We're going to go ahead and close Chrome real quick. And to install it, you simply double click on the executable, hit yes, and it should go through the installer. We got to agree, hit next, and then kind of go through the whole process until it installs. And it looks like it's taking a second to install services, so I'm going to skip ahead until it's actually set up. And here we go. It still says installing services, but the program's running, so I'm just going to go with it. So there's a couple of choices you have when you first start up. You can start a 30-day trial. You can enter a product key if you have a previous product key that you purchased in the past, or you can purchase a product key. Now, obviously, in this case, I'm going to start a 30-day trial. Now, this is not my email address, but it is a fake email address that I've already used to play around with this program. So I'm going to go ahead and just use that one again. It's going to go through and say it's activated. Now it gives you the very first choices whether or not you want the start menu center aligned or left aligned. I'm going to go ahead and leave it center aligned for right now, but you can choose either one right at the beginning. You can always change this later on if you want to. So ultimately, all we're doing is looking at the functionality of the program itself. We're not really going to dig into some of the details that you can do. But as you can see, right now we have a Windows 7 style start menu. And with this one, it's the same thing. You can actually change the kind of themes that you have on your different start menus, as well as we can even go with a Windows 10 style start menu, or we can even go back to a Windows 11 style, which would be fine if you didn't have this program at all, but that's the way it goes. I go more into these in a previous video that I recommend you checking out. Now, you can also go down to the taskbar, and this is one that I wanted to look at because this is one of the big problems with running these kind of programs in 24H2. So we're gonna go ahead and turn on what Start 11 is calling their enhanced taskbar. And by turning that on, we're gonna go ahead and hit yes. It automatically moves everything over to the side, and this essentially gives you a Windows 10-ish or a 10 style taskbar. And you can go ahead and change all of your settings at this point. But as you can see, this seems to be working quite well. The only thing about this one though is I also wanted to point out real quick that if you wanted to actually purchase this one, this is a $10 license. So it's also the most expensive desktop customization software that we have on this list today. Now, yes, Start 11 is the most expensive of all the different Windows customization apps that we're looking at. That's true. However, it does have a lot of functionality. In fact, it has more functionality than even my favorite app, Explorer Patcher. I did an entire video on just this app a while back, and I'll go ahead and leave a link to that at the end screen of this video so you can check it out if you want to. Now, there are other apps that can help you customize Windows 11, but today we've just looked at kind of the top 3 most common, at least the ones that I feel are most common. If I didn't cover the one that you like, then I'm sorry, but it's probably working, hopefully. I mean, some of these apps are kind of buggy, and some of them, though, work quite well. And I think, however, the majority of the bugs that we saw today were due to bugs that are still present in Windows 11 24H2. Hopefully, those will be worked out before it's released, because we all know that Microsoft has a history of releasing bug-free and stable software. Either way, it looks like the future of Windows customization is going to be around for a little while longer. Lots of people were kind of afraid that Microsoft was going to take away our ability to customize Windows in 24H2, but that's simply not the case. However, with that said, the tactics that they're using against Explorer Patcher, I think, are completely unreasonable. However, if you download an older version of Explorer Patcher that doesn't have the re-implemented Windows 10 taskbar, they're not flagged. So I think this Windows Defender issue is related to Explorer Patcher using the Windows 10 taskbar specifically. And you know what? I think the reason why this topic upsets me so much is because the majority of people that are going to get a virus warning, and they're just going to believe it's a virus. They're not going to know that this is just a dispute between a multi-billion-dollar company and an independent developer. So essentially, Microsoft is using their own resources to hurt someone who just wants to make Windows better. It has nothing to do with malicious software, but I guess it is what it is. But with that said, if you just want a stable program that changes the look and feel of Windows 11, then I would probably recommend Start 11. But if you want to support an independent developer that's getting bullied by Microsoft, then I would definitely use Explorer Patcher. Now, I've done videos on both of these programs in the past, so if you'd like to check them out, I'll post a video of Explorer Patcher here, and I'll post a video for Start 11 right here. Both of them are excellent choices. As always, you guys have a great day.